No. Stop, bro, please. Stop. Oh my god, bro. Well, we're gonna have to do a couple of free kit runs here because your boy is broke. Night Marsh is open. We'll do some Night Marsh. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What is all this stuff? Oh, come on, bro. We just had this free kit. I'm doing rook runs, bro.
Know your terrain and never give up an advantage.
Suppressing UESC programming.
Look, maybe we can get an anomaly out of it. That'd be good.
Builders. It's not our job title. It's a mindset. Base 44. We're done.
Dragon Ball is home to some of the most iconic techniques in anime. The Kamehameha, the Special Beam Cannon, the Spirit Bomb. But according to the official guidebooks, these attacks are actually part of a detailed classification system that groups techniques based on how they work. The Kamehameha and Frieza's Death Beams are both key attacks, but they're not actually the same kind of technique. The Spirit Bomb belongs to an entirely different category, same with moves like the Destructo Disc or the Solar Flare. It's a part of Dragon Ball lore that almost no one talks about, since it's hidden away in the Chozenshu databooks. So today, let's break them down. According to the Chozenshu, techniques are divided into three major families: ki-based, physical, and specialized techniques. Each of these families is then divided into several subclasses. First are ki-based techniques, or Kiko techniques. Ki is the life energy that exists within all living beings, and even some that aren't living, like the sun. These moves are created by manipulating that energy in various ways. Most of Dragon Ball's recognizable attacks fall into this category. While martial artists and warriors spend years learning how to control Ki, most ordinary people in the Dragon world know nothing about it. This is why Mr. Satan dismisses energy attacks as tricks and special effects. For many races, like humans, controlling Ki requires intense training, but for others, like Saiyans, they seem to be more naturally inclined to it. Let's begin with the basic type. These are the most common kind of energy attacks, consisting of accumulating power into the palm of your hand and firing it off. The Kamehameha and the Gallic Gun are two prime examples. These basic moves themselves are divided into two different kinds: light spheres and waves, or beams. One thing I want to do for this video is also mention techniques from Super, GT, or Daima, since the Chozenshu guide focuses specifically on the manga. So, sphere types. These are basic Ki attacks that take the form of a condensed ball of energy. They include
I'm sorry, bro, but I need this.
the Big Bang attack, the Beerus's
I'm sorry, bro. I need this. I need it.
wave-type techniques release energy as a concentrated beam or wave of energy.
Is that true?
Final flash,
I feel like that's not true.
and the many variations of the full power energy wave all fall into this category. Some attacks can even blur the line between the two. Jiren's power impact, for example, is shown as both a condensed energy
I'm inclined to trust you.
like blast, depending on how he uses it. Next is concentration.
Pick me up.
You have a mercy
Don't hit
kit?
the wrong button. I've done that.
But like, here's the scenario that I'm dealing with, right? Like, what if I res you and then you kill me? Oh! Oh my god, I genuinely feel horrible for that guy. I'm sorry if you're out there, bro. What the fuck is that? Maintenance? Dude, it hasn't even been 30 minutes and I already got something funny. I'm happy about it. And I'm sick. I'm just sick of all of these things chasing me all the time. There's just like things chasing me.
5 minutes remain.
Infiltrating. Exit marked.
Motherfucker. Motherfucker.
Location filled immediately.
me.
Did I get any gold salvage? I did. No, I didn't. Fuck.
Type. This is where things get more interesting and specific. Concentration type key attacks focus energy on a specific part of the body, like the mouth or the fingertips, for a more focused and precise blast. The special beam cannon is a prime example, with powerful concentration and focus on piercing. Others include Frieza's Death Beam, Nappa's Mouth Blast, Tao Pai Pai's Dodonpa, and Zamasu's Holy Wrath. I would even say something like Omega Shenron's Dragon Thunder, where he focuses his energy on his back spikes for an electric burst of energy, works as part of this group. Accumulation type techniques gather energy from other beings to create an attack. This is most obvious with something like the Genkidama, Spirit Bomb, where Goku asks for creatures, plants, and energy sources to share their power with him. There aren't too many examples of this, but Moro's energy attack, where he steals power from everything around him, and
Yo,
Revenge
what's
Death,
poppin'?
where he gathers energy from his subjects, would fit under here too.
How art thou?
Or Ki techniques are different from most other Ki-based attacks because they don't actually visualize energy. Instead, they stay invisible. The most basic one of this kind is a simple Ki.
Yo, Shahad Muhammad, what's going on, bro? How's your day going?
Of energy, like Piccolo's, where he gathers the power all in his body and violently releases it, and Oop's
There's no anomaly. I'm
version
leaving.
belong here too. Even Frieza's Earth Splitter. The most interesting one in this section, as specified by the Chozenshu, is Tenshinhan's Kiko Hole. Yeah, apparently it's supposed to be an invisible burst of energy. I did kind of read it like that in the manga, but the anime and the games don't show it this way. So perhaps the Tri-Beam there used the light as more of a representation of the attack.
How's your day going, Shahad?
Oh, and his ability to stop the Kamehameha is also just a Ki. Modification type technique.
Hell yeah. Good, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it.
Or function. Instead of simply firing energy, the user
We
something more
we should be
special.
getting into some
My
cryo
favorite
later this
example
evening.
is Krillin's Kienzan.
I'm
which
just
shapes
making
energy
some money.
into a slicing, spinning disc. Other examples of this include Vegeto's Spirit Sword
Before I jump into the game.
and Gotenks's Galactic Donuts, creating a ring to lock an opponent in place. The multiple type of energy attacks is just as it sounds.
There's no anomaly. I gotta go. I gotta go.
These are seen a lot more in the anime and games, with the book using Gotenks's Dai Missile Barrage as a good example. It also mentions Vegeta's technique, as used against Zarbon, saying that although it's not given a name, it was a furious attack that consumed a lot of energy and did not allow the enemy to respond. I think it's worth noting that although we see this kind of move all the time in games, this is actually a very difficult thing to pull off. These kinds of techniques are so strong that they cause massive damage to the arena. Rather than putting everything into a single blast, the user overwhelms their opponent through the sheer volume. Other examples include Super Boo's Human Extinction Attack, Majub's Lightning Arrow, and Zamasu's Blades of Judgment. Directed types are moves that allow the user to manually move the technique for a more precise attack on the opponent, or to follow them if they dodge. Yamcha's Sokidan, or Spirit Ball, is a prime example of this, as Yamcha uses his fingers to direct the energy sphere. The most complex and sophisticated of these is Gotenks's Kamikaze Ghost, since the ghost itself has free will
High-value
and can
target
either follow
detected.
Damn it,
orders
Brent.
by themselves. Others include Android 13's SS Deadly Bomber, Goku's Curved Kamehameha, and Frieza's Death Saucer. However, a few of the ones I mentioned here are combinations
I gotta keep
of types
queuing in.
which brings me to, at first glance, these categories seem completely separate. But Dragon Ball's classification system becomes far more interesting once techniques begin combining multiple types together. Fusion types are not to be confused with the actual technique of the fusion dance. That's for later. These are moves that combine two or more types of key classifications. For example, Krillin's scattered energy shot against the Cybermen is a combination of modified, multiple, and directed. They could be considered an evolved or reinforced version of these different types. According to the Chozenshu, creating these hybrid techniques requires a much greater degree of control. The user must carefully manage both their spiritual and combat energy, while also accounting for the increased energy consumption of combining multiple classifications into a single move. Other moves like this are the Shin Kiko Ho, which combines multiple and spiritual, the Super Galactic Donuts, which are modified and multiple, as well as
Okay,
the
yeah, no sweat, bro.
Kamikaze
You gotta go, you gotta go. I
attacks,
just appreciate you stopping by, man. Thank you.
are fused. That one
I hope you have a great day.
and directed.
And enjoy your Friday.
Examples is Vegito's scattered finger shot, which combines multiple and concentrated. But Ki isn't just used for attacking, it can also be used for support. But before we move on to support and physical techniques, if you are enjoying these deep dives into weird Dragon Ball lore, then be sure to subscribe. We're getting really close to 500,000 subscribers, which is just awesome to think about. Anyways, back to the classifications. For support, we have movement type. These are just as it sounds, useful to get from one place to another, or just to move around in some way. The most obvious
Not a
example
single
is
anomaly.
flight,
Not a single one.
manipulating the body's ki to traverse the skies, as first seen with the Crane School, and later adopted by pretty much everyone. Other uses are the instant transmission, the Yardra technique of instant teleportation using key signatures, and the Kai Kai, the Kaioshin's teleportation technique. Ultra Instinct is kind of complicated, but I think it could be categorized here maybe as well, since it is like the ultimate version of movement without thinking, but that's a huge asterisk. Offensive support types aid in battle. An easy example is the Kaioken, which uses ki to greatly increase strength and speed of the user. Others include things like the Solar Field, used to blind and disorient foes, and Vegito's Barrier, which protected him from being truly absorbed by Buu. Though not specified, things like the Multiform technique could also be placed here. And finally, there's Sealing type techniques, which are based on detecting the energy of the enemy and trapping them within something. I think it's pretty obvious what we're talking about here, the Mafu Blade, used by Master Mutaito to seal away King Piccolo, and later by Roshi, Trunks, etc. etc. This can also be reversed, and used to target
Dude,
positive energy instead. as
I've loaded into this
Junior
map
acts
like
as
7
There's
times.
not really many techniques that fit under this category, but we could include Tapion's use of the Ocarina to seal away Hirudegarn, whatever technique the Kaios used to trap away Bojack's crew in a planet, and how Beerus trapped the old Kai in the Sea Sword. Up to this point, we focused entirely on Ki, but physical techniques are just as important to Dragon Ball's combat system. These techniques are based on training the body itself until it becomes a weapon. The guidebook points to Goku's childhood as a prime example. Long before he learned to control Ki, Goku had already developed a wide variety of physical techniques that helped him overcome stronger foes. While Ki attacks often serve as the finishing blow, the majority of Dragon Ball fights are fought mainly through physical techniques. And just like Ki attacks, physical techniques are divided into several categories of their own. Just like with Ki, we begin with the basic category. These consist of 3 fundamental forms of attacks: punches, kicks, and charges, the core movements of any martial arts. While these actions rarely receive names in the series, they're still considered techniques. Every rush combo ultimately traces back to these 3 basic forms. Examples of punch-based moves are the Satan Miracle Special Ultra Super Megaton Punch and Goku's 1-inch punch on Golden Frieza. For kicks, we have Mr. Satan's Dynamite Kick, the Great Saiyaman's Justice Kick, and the Raccoon Kick. As for charges, Nam's Cross Arm Dive, Goten's Charge Down, Vegeta's Burst through Android 15, and maybe even Gamma 2's Full Force Charge he uses on Cell Max. Composite type techniques are
Hey Rook,
combinations of
if you're in the
forms of
chat
attacks.
somewhere, bro, just so you know, I didn't get any gold salvage out of that, so I'm sorry. I didn't mean to kill you.
To overwhelm the opponent before they
Genuinely.
The guidebook uses Yamcha's Wolf Fang Fist as the the defining example of this category, saying that the individual strikes may not carry the same power as a single focused blow, but the speed and unpredictability of the combo can make these techniques difficult to defend against. Other examples would include Goku's Meteor combination, Vegeta's rush on Goku Black, Goku's Rock Scissors Paper, and Super Saiyan Bardock's rush down on Chilled. Coordinated techniques involve two or more fighters working together on a move. They focus on cooperation and synchronization between multiple attackers, like Gotenks' Ultra Boo Boo volleyball attack with Piccolo, and Tenshinhan's multi-form rush attack. In the latter, Tien divides himself into 4 bodies, which then attack from multiple directions,
Aha.
overwhelming the foe. Though Goku deals with it easily, as Tien's power is also divided between 4. Other examples would include attacks
Nope.
like Goku and Piccolo's assault on Raditz
Nope.
and Garlic Jr., 18 and 17's Axel,
I'm outta here.
and the Great Saiyaman X's and Gammas, Cyclone Style, Tornado, Super Hurricane. Style type, or form intent type, is a little weirder than the others. The Spanish translation of the Chozenshu I'm using doesn't even translate it, and keeps it as Kei. This grouping of techniques consists of taking a particular form or imitating something that's real. The main example used is Jackie Chun's Drunken Fist, where he acts drunk to disorient Goku with its irregular moves. Goku then used those same principles to
Motherfucker.
create the Mad Dog Attack, a move that was only ever shown in the manga, where Goku acts as a rabid dog and rushes at his foe with ferocious, sudden, and scary attacks. There's also the Monkey Fist attack, which was in the anime, acting like a monkey and scratching his foe. And although not used as an
The
example,
enormous
I
left
wonder
is
if something
coalesced
like
into
the
a
Wolfang
physical
Fist
sample.
could also be considered as part of this group too. Then there's the After Image type. The After Image is one of the most important abilities in Dragon Ball. So,
Bring
of course, it has a
unstable
style
sample to the
all of its own.
stabilization
The basic idea is that the user moves so fast that it leaves behind residual images of themselves, which can be used to mislead or confuse opponents, especially when avoiding an attack and having the enemy attack thin air. The more the technique is perfected, the more images can be left behind. We first saw this with Jackie Chun at the World Tournament, and Goku quickly learned it. An evolved version of this is the After Image Strike, which creates even more images and leads to a better surprise attack. There's not many other techniques like this, since it's so versatile and everyone uses it. But Hit does have his own version of it, which he uses in the Tournament of Power. Secretion-type techniques rely on the user producing some kind of substance from their body. Take this Cyberman for example, whose head splits open to fire acid from their body, or Giran from the 21st World Tournament, who spits out gum to trap enemies in place. Another example could be something like Dabora's Spit, which turns people into stone, and maybe even Lavender's Poison, which he combines with his attacks. I would even argue that Cell-creating Cell Juniors could also fit into this category. Separation type techniques are similar to secretion type, but instead of spelling out something created by the body, they throw out parts of the body itself. The main user of this is Majin Buu, who can throw or leave behind chunks of his own body, which can then
Okay,
move
stop
or
following
move
me.
its own, like Fat Buu throwing out his belly like a whip, or Super Buu using bits of himself to absorb people.
Okay, I said stop fucking following me.
Great Shenron's Electric Buu, and Baby leaving behind eggs with fragments of himself to control others. The final physical classification technique is the combined type. This is where we get the Metamorian fusion dance, where warriors of similar sizes and power perform poses to combine into an even more powerful fighter. If even a small mistake is made, then the fusion fails, and the result ends up either fat or skinny, with nowhere near the same power. It's worth noting that Toriyama has mentioned how the fusion dance used in the original series is just one kind, the one used to increase battle power, but that there are other versions for various different things, and some that can even fuse more than 2 people at once. But other examples of this are the Namekian assimilation technique, Abo and Kado's merging into Akka, and one could even argue absorptions like Majin Buu's, and maybe even like Botamagera. I guess the
That smart shit is pretty slick. What's next?
Just manifesting my future.
Tara Fusion would fit here too, but that uses a magical item and not a technique itself. The final major family of techniques is the specialized techniques, the most unique of the groups. According to the Chozenshu, specialized techniques are moves that don't fit into either ki-based or physical categories. Unlike most attacks in Dragon Ball, these rely on special knowledge, tools, magical abilities, or ancient disciplines. Because many of them have existed for centuries or follow specific established methods, they're generally generally less flexible than key techniques, and can't really be freely modified by users. Some of the most unusual abilities in Dragon Ball fall into this category, but the book only gives us 3. Ninja martial arts and abilities are mainly used by Ninja Murasaki from the Red Ribbon Army. They're centered around deception, and use things like shuriken and other shinobi tools. Since it's an ancient form of fighting that utilizes tools, normal humans can learn this with enough training. Techniques that fall under this are Amenbo no Jutsu, walking on water with special shoes, the Bunshin no Jutsu, the multiplication technique, that's really just Murasaki getting help from his twin brothers, and more. There's not many ninja characters in Dragon Ball, but Shu from the Pilaf gang fits, and maybe even Fu from Heroes and Xenoverse, who does have ninja-like traits, such as his sword and trickster fighting style. Next up is hypnosis, techniques which influence the opponent's mind. The guidebook cites Jackie Chun's hypnosis during the 21st World Tournament as the defining example of this, the Sleepy Boy technique. By using hand movements and changing tone, Jackie can induce sleep, alter perception, or cause hallucinations. Roshi does this a few times, like against Manwolf, and in the Tournament of Power. This technique isn't really used in Dragon Ball generally, but something like the Para Brothers dance is a kind of hypnosis. The final subclass they mention is sorcery. These are magical techniques used by characters like Kurenai Baba, Agni, and Mora. According to the guidebook, sorcery differs from key techniques in that it doesn't place the same physical strain on the user. Some magical abilities can be performed instantly, like Babidi Blow.
Got me another anomaly. Let me get a hazard cap, bro. Let me get a hazard cap.
Or magical formulas to take effect, like Babidi's change of location being pa-pa-da-pa-pa. The book only mentions Babidi, but obviously new characters like Moro fit in this, since basically every technique he uses is some kind of magic. Majin Buu's healing also fits here, according to the ability dictionary, and I'm sure many of his other techniques would too, like the Candy Beam. Dragon Ball Daima also introduced the idea that demons have many different kinds of magic, such as Glorious being electricity. Even things like gas, being able to materialize objects and weapons, could fit here. And those are all the classes and subclasses of techniques as described by the Chozenshu. One thing I noticed though, while going through the encyclopedia, Chozenshu 4, is that while many techniques are classified between physical or key techniques, and some are even more specific, with subsections like coordinate, many other skills don't necessarily fit under any of the large families and are just labeled as abilities or special techniques. So I think the specialized technique section I just talked about is more so given
Let me get a hazard cap.
rather than just trying to group them all in. Like, many psychic abilities are grouped together under a general special technique class, such as
Fuck,
the
bro.
immobilization technique used by Chaozu, Shin, Frieza, and Blue, all being labeled as the same. Others are just abilities, like Piccolo's I-Beam, Cell's Absorption, Metacooler's Regeneration, and Self-Destruction. I do think some of these can be grouped under other things, but I understand why they aren't. Some are very character-specific. Honestly, this whole thing kinda makes me want to do a video going through every technique in the encyclopedia. It's not up to date, since it only went up to Battle of Gods, but there is some interesting stuff there. So, if you want to see that, let me know. Still, I think that Chozenshu does a surprisingly good job organizing Dragon Ball's combat system. Looking through all the classifications actually gave me a greater appreciation for how skilled Dragon Ball's fighters are. It's easy to look at a Kamehameha or a Destructo Disc and just think it's an attack they made up, but according to the guidebooks, many of these techniques require completely different forms of control, training, and mastery. Some focus energy on a single point, others reshape it entirely, and some combine multiple classifications together into something even more complex. When we look at the series this way, characters like Goku, Piccolo, Krillin, and Tenshinhan feel even more so like really complex martial artists who've spent their entire lives mastering these different disciplines. It makes the variety